good day for America, it's a good day for Europe, and it's a good day for world peace, for real.
U.S. President Joe Biden signed a nearly $100 billion foreign aid package into law Wednesday after months of wrangling with Republicans in Congress. $61 billion of that will go to help Ukraine in the fight against Russia's more than two-year invasion.
America stands with our friends. We stand up against dictators. We bow to no one, certainly not Vladimir Putin.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he was grateful to Biden and Congress.
Я вдячний президенту Байдену, Конгресу, усім американцям.
Biden said he had already approved an initial $1 billion in weapons supplies for Ukraine, and that the flow of these arms would start Wednesday.
I'm making sure the shipments start right away. In the next few hours, literally the few hours, we're going to begin sending in equipment to Ukraine for air defense munitions, for artillery, for rocket systems, and armored vehicles.
The Democrat had pressed Republican lawmakers for 6 months to approve more funding for Ukraine. His 2024 election rival Donald Trump objected to aid for Ukraine, and some Republicans in Congress refused to back it, questioning whether Ukraine could ever prevail. But with the backing of Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson, his chamber passed the bill Saturday, and the Senate approved it late Tuesday. The legislation also includes $26 billion for Israel, as well as $1 billion in humanitarian assistance to Gaza.
And Israel must make sure all this aid reaches the Palestinians in Gaza without delay. And everything we do is guided by the ultimate goal of bringing these hostages home, securing a ceasefire, and setting the conditions for an enduring peace.
Another $8 billion will go to countering China's military might, with funding for Taiwan and other U.S. partners in the Indo-Pacific. Biden also signed a separate bill tied to the aid package that bans TikTok in the United States if its owner, Chinese tech firm ByteDance, fails to divest the popular short video app over the next 9 months to a year. TikTok's CEO said on Wednesday that the company expects to win a legal challenge to block the legislation.
We don't walk away from our allies. We stand with them. That's what it means to be the indispensable nation. That's what it means to be the world's superpower and the world's leading democracy. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
It's a good day for America. It's a good day for Europe, and it's a good day for world peace, for real. This is consequential. I just signed into law the national security package that was passed by the House of Representatives this weekend and by the Senate yesterday. It's going to make America safer, it's going to make the world safer, and it continues America's leadership in the world, and everyone knows it. It gives vital support to America's partners, and so they can defend themselves against threats to their sovereignty and to the lives and freedom of their citizens. And it's an investment in our own security, because when our allies are stronger, and I want to make this point again and again, when our allies are stronger, we are stronger. I'm grateful to all those in Congress, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, who voted for this bill. It's a path to my desk. It was a difficult path. It should have been easier, and it should have gotten there sooner. But in the end, we did what America always does. We rose to the moment. We came together, and we got it done. Now, we need to move fast, and we are. Russia has ramped up its airstrikes against Ukrainian cities and critical infrastructure. Rain down munitions on you, brave. I'm making sure the shipments start right away. In the next few hours, literally the few hours, we're going to begin sending in equipment to Ukraine for air defense munitions, for artillery, for rocket systems, and armored vehicles. You know, this package is literally an investment, not only in Ukraine's security, but in Europe's security, in our own security. We're sending Ukraine equipment from our own stockpiles. Then we'll replenish those stockpiles with new products made by American companies here in America. Our allies in Europe and around the world who've constantly been asking me, are we going to step up? We're not going to walk away, are we? We're all standing together against this brutal dictator. As I've argued for months, this is directly in the United States' national security interest. If Putin triumphs in Ukraine, the next move of Russian forces could very well be a direct attack on a NATO ally. And you all know full well that invoking Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty would be the first thing that comes to mind, which declares an attack on one as an attack on all. If Putin attacks a NATO ally like he's attacking Ukraine today, we'd have no choice but to come to their aid, just like our NATO allies came to our aid after the September 11th attacks here. That's why we're supporting and surging support now to Ukraine, to stop Putin from drawing the United States into a war in Europe and in the future. In the next few hours, literally the few hours, we're going to begin sending in equipment to Ukraine. You know, Putin started this war believing he could easily break the will of the people of Ukraine. When that failed, he changed his strategy a little bit, thinking we could break the will of NATO, break the will of the United States, break our will. Well, he's failed again. America stands with our friends. We stand up against dictators. We bow to no one, certainly not Vladimir Putin. My commitment to Israel, I want to make clear again, is ironclad. The security of Israel is critical. It will always make sure that Israel has what it needs to defend itself against Iran and terrorists it supports. And with this aid, the United States is going to help replenish Israel's air defense and provide other critical events so Iran can never carry out the destruction it intended with its attack 10 days ago. But at the same time, this bill significantly increases humanitarian assistance we're sending to the innocent people of Gaza who are suffering badly. They're suffering the consequences of this war that Hamas started. And we've been working intently for months to get as much aid to Gaza as possible. This bill includes $1 billion for additional humanitarian aid in Gaza. We're going to immediately secure that aid and surge it, including food, medical supplies, clean water. And Israel must make sure all this aid reaches the Palestinians in Gaza without delay. And everything we do is guided by the ultimate goal of bringing these hostages home, securing a ceasefire, and setting the conditions for an enduring peace. Humanitarian aid in Gaza. We're going to immediately secure that aid and surge it. You know, just this year I proposed and negotiated and agreed to the strongest border security bill this country has ever seen. It was bipartisan. It should have been included in this bill. And I'm determined to get it done for the American people. Come together, despite our differences. I want to thank everyone in Congress who made it possible. I want to thank everyone in Congress who made it possible, especially the bipartisan leadership. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, Leader Jeffries, Leaders Schumer and McConnell. They don't always agree, but when it matters most, they stepped up and did the right thing. And I mean this sincerely. History will remember this time. History will remember this moment.
Will this turn the tide for Ukraine, Mr. Biden? Will you ban TikTok if it doesn't get sold, Mr. President? Would you ban TikTok?
A sweeping foreign aid package cleared the final hurdle in the U.S. Congress with ease late on Tuesday to provide fresh funding to Ukraine and Israel after months of delay. The Senate approved the $95 billion package by a wide margin of 79 to 18 votes. It was a combination of 4 bills. $61 billion goes to defending Ukraine against Russian advances in its war. $26 billion is for Israel, as well as humanitarian aid for civilians in conflict zones around the world. While some $8 billion will help Taiwan and other countries in the Indo-Pacific, quote, counter communist China. A 4th bill was added to the package by the House of Representatives last week to move on potentially banning the Chinese-owned social media app TikTok. Members of the House passed the combo package on Saturday after Republicans there abruptly ended a months-long stalemate. President Joe Biden has promised to sign it into law as soon as it reaches his desk. Democratic Majority Leader Chuck Schumer called Tuesday's vote an inflection point in history.
The conflicts we see right now in Europe, in the Middle East, and the tensions of the Indo-Pacific will go a long way in shaping the balance of power between democracy and autocracy in the decades to come, and the consequences for America's long-term security will be profound.
His Republican counterpart, Mitch McConnell, expressed regret about the delay.
For months, our friends have watched to see whether America still had the strength that won the Cold War or the resolve that has underpinned peace and prosperity literally for decades. Our enemies have tested whether the arsenal of democracy is, in fact, built to endure. Well, tonight, the Senate will send a clear message.
The two leaders applauded the bipartisan effort to finally get the package passed after strong opposition, mostly from hardline Republicans with close ties to Donald Trump. The former president has been skeptical of funding Ukraine as he pushes America First policies. McConnell later told a news conference he believes Congress has turned the corner on the isolationist movement. About $10 billion of the Ukraine money comes in the form of a loan, which Trump had suggested, though this bill lets the president forgive the loan starting in 2026.
What's happening on America's college campuses is horrific. Anti-Semitic mobs have taken over leading universities. They call for the annihilation of Israel. They attack Jewish students. They attack Jewish faculty. This is reminiscent of what happened in German universities in the 1930s. It's unconscionable. It has to be stopped. It has to be condemned, and condemned unequivocally. But that's not what happened. The response of several university presidents was shameful. Now, fortunately, state, local, federal officials, many of them have responded differently, but there has to be more. More has to be done.
We know that the threat is there, it's still there. The Iranians are capable to shoot to Israel missiles and UAVs and cruise missiles, and this is exactly what we are preparing ourselves, as I said, for a very long time. And we have to say that it is us together with the CENTCOM and the coalition which is around us, which is something very significant for the defense of Israel. Again, together with our allies, mainly with the United States, but also from other countries, we feel that we have the needed supply today in order to deal with whatever it's needed, and it is something that is continuously being built. And but as everything that you need to manage during a war, supply of missiles and ammunition, this is of course one important part of it. Israel is operating all the relevant system, which is, air defense. It's always a challenge for the Israeli pilots, but then from the other end, this is something that we know how to deal with. I wouldn't get into the operational, the operational and relevant way of doing things. But this is what the Israeli Air Force and the Israeli pilots were training themselves for years and years, and we feel quite confident that if something would be needed to do, we know how to do it. Specific, again, this is a political issue. I'm a military personnel, but as a military personnel, I can tell you that shipments and so on. So the Iranians are there as a threat. The decision if to fight, to shoot 1, 2, or 3, this is a decision that is being made according to the threat, according to the decision of the Israeli C2, which is the command post, and of course the operators of the system. They would make the decision in real time how much they have to shoot, what are the relevant heights according to the threat.
Hey, Bernie. I've heard so little from the Israeli government over the past 4 days now. The military saying that I think they want to use the. Wow, I'm up.
where Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu faced growing pressure from allies on Monday to show restraint as he considered how to respond to Iran's weekend missile and drone attack. A government source said Netanyahu met with his war cabinet Monday for the second time in 24 hours following the Iranian strikes.
This is an Israeli decision to make, whether and how they'll respond.
White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby on Monday said Washington was not involved in Israel's decision on if and how it might respond. The weekend attack, involving more than 300 missiles and drones, caused only modest damage in Israel and no deaths. Most were shot down by Israel's Iron Dome defense system, and with help from the U.S., Britain, France, and Jordan.
President Biden instructed the United States to defend Israel to the maximum extent possible and defeat that attack, and we did. With the support of our partners, the United States enabled Israel to spectacularly defeat it.
And now those allies were urging Netanyahu not to raise tensions any further.
The United States is committed to Israel's security.
From the Oval Office, President Joe Biden affirmed Washington's support for Israel. Speaking in Parliament, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said he planned to speak with the Israeli leader.
I will also shortly be speaking to Prime Minister Netanyahu to express our solidarity with Israel in the face of this attack and to discuss how we can prevent further escalation.
Iran launched the attack over a suspected Israeli airstrike on its embassy compound in Syria on April 1st that killed 7 Iranian Revolutionary Guards officers, including 2 senior commanders. Italy, which holds the rotating presidency of the group of 7 major democracies, raised the possibility of the G7 discussing new sanctions against Iran following the attack.
The attack against Israel has been a big mistake.
In an interview with Reuters, Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani said new sanctions would need the backing of all the G7, which includes Italy, France, Germany, Canada, Japan, Britain, and the United States.
We need to be very prudent. We need to work for a de-escalation.
He suggested any new sanctions would be focused on individuals rather than whole nations.
Well, if they don't sign, in time we will have to retreat to Dnipro, and maybe even to Lviv, and maybe even to Poland. Everything is possible.